Earlier this morning, the SoFi community discovered that Derek White, the CEO of Galileo, who has been with the company since 2020, is, as of today, no longer with the company. SoFi has not officially commented on this yet, and in this video, I want to share everything we know so far, and I also want to share some speculation as to what could have led to this decision. Let's jump right in. Okay, so before I jump into the Derek White news, I do want to talk about some other SoFi specific news that came out this week. So, first and foremost, we start off here. I said here I just landed and SoFi rolled out level one options. This happened, of course, yesterday. Level one options are now live on certain accounts. This is not live on all accounts just yet. Some accounts are getting it. It's a slow rollout, and it's something that they're probably testing out in different demographics. And as a result of that, we don't have official news on level one options just yet. This is something that we've been expecting for a while. Anthony Noto even commented on this, saying that it was going to come towards the end of the year, and it ended up slow rolling out on the last day of Q3. But Q4 is when we can expect everybody to have level one options, as this is a really good indicator that they're probably testing out that functionality. Now, SoFi has also been down this week. It's down about 11% this week alone. So the stock peaked at $30 a share, and then it fell all the way down into the 25s. One of the reasons, and this is really interesting, is this note here. So I saw this being posted by several accounts, and basically what it is a note by BTIG, and many companies fell on the back of this note, not just SoFi. We got Pagaya that fell, we have Upstart that fell, and a lot of similar companies. And the reason was as a result of an error. So I posted here saying BTIG released an error triggering a mostly algo-driven mass sell-off. And obviously the fact that they can do this without any real repercussions just opens the door for a lot of bad actors, let's say, to take advantage of that. So I'll just read this error really quickly. It says the original report published on September 28th, the Sunday, mentioned August weighted average 30-day plus delinquencies exceeding 11.2% and above the 6 to 8% range that delinquencies have ranged in for basically the last 3 years. This has been corrected to reflect the August weighted average 30-day plus delinquencies across the trusts, increasing to 6.2%, up from 6.1% in July and 5.4% in June. Massive correction there, because you're going from 11.1% delinquencies just to 6.2%. So obviously that caused a massive sell-off. And SoFi, of course, was one of the names. And this correction was updated as of September 30th at 6:20 p.m. The funny part here is a couple things. Number one, that they can post a note like this with such a blatant error on a Sunday and then correct it 2 days later after the market closes. That's kind of crazy to me. And just the fact that there's nothing that's really going to happen as a result of this. And I think overall, it's just a sign that you should not be spooked out of the markets for no reason at all. You should know what you hold, essentially. Now, a good reason, depending on how this case turns out, is that Derek White is no longer with SoFi. Derek White has been the CEO of Galileo since 2020. He was one of the few individuals that benefited from performance stock units. So here you have the PSU plan, and as you can see, one of the individuals there is Mr. Derek White, who would be granted 750,000 SoFi shares if the stock were to be above $45 per share by June of 2026. Of course, we don't know if SoFi is going to end up at that tranche, but what we do know with a high degree of certainty is that the first tranche, which is $25, is basically already completed, because that first tranche is at $25. And as you can see here, SoFi has been trading above that $25 range on an average basis for the last month or so, even despite this latest pullback. So if they can maintain this price average, and they first crossed into that $25 range in August, which triggered this, which means if they can keep it up for the next couple of months, the management team would get those performance stock units. However, Derek White is actually no longer with the company, because if you just look at Galileo's own website, I have it open here on their about page, it says our executive team. When you scroll down here, you have Bill Kennedy, who is the interim head of Galileo. And you don't have Derek White anywhere in the picture here. Obviously, that begs the question, what happened to Derek White? Now, Bill Kennedy is the CFO and interim head of Galileo now. So this is pretty official, even though we haven't had a press release or an SEC filing just yet, or any commentary from the company. This is a change that's on their website, and it's something that's very clearly written down that this change has happened. The question now is really, why would somebody like Derek White, who was an innovative thinker in terms of how he was planning to evolve Galileo forward, walk away from millions of dollars? Because that $25 tranche, the first layer of the performance stock units, is worth over $6 million. That's 250,000 shares, right? Not to mention the potential for 750,000 shares. If you just do the quick math, multiply 750,000 shares by $45, which is the level that they would need to hit for that to be reached, that would be about $33.7 million. And so, why would this person walk away from over $6 million today, assuming, of course, they hit the $25 tranche, and walk away from potentially over $33 million, assuming they hit the $45 tranche? Derek White here owns almost 1.1 million shares of SoFi. This is somebody who is well compensated for his time and his expertise. He has plenty of SoFi shares, but the fact of the matter is that it's still kind of strange because there was no announcement on this at all. This was something that felt very swept under the rug, and maybe the company is still working out the messaging around how they want to frame this, how they want to communicate it. But then why would you go and update the website? So, really, when you think about it, there's a couple of different alternatives and conclusions that you can come to. Number one is, of course, that he got an offer that was way too good to refuse, something that would have paid him well in excess of the performance stock units from SoFi, or maybe something that would align with his mission statement better. And he left of his own volition. He wanted to leave for something better. Or number two, there was some type of conflict internally and he was pushed out, or there was some misalignment between the management team. And that stuff happens way more than you would think. Now, one thing is for certain is that we're going to hear very shortly around what actually happened. I really like this post from Roy here, and he posted that the SEC usually requires an 8K filing when an executive departs from an organization. We might not see all of the reasons, but for context, SoFi has seen two other C-suite departures since 2024, and we've talked about both of them on this channel. There's Chad Borton, who had an 8K filed 4 days after the resignation was tendered, and there was Aaron Webster, who had an 8K filed 2 days after. In both circumstances, the standard 8K language was they resigned to pursue other opportunities. And in addition, the 8K also highlighted that this resignation was not the result of any dispute or disagreement with the company or SoFi Bank relating to the company's or SoFi Bank's operations policies, including accounting or financial policies or practices. So I think Roy took this from Chad Borton's 8K because Chad Borton was the president of SoFi Bank. Likely, Derek White's will read the same way, but we should know soon. So, in other words, if there was some type of internal conflict, you could potentially find a hint of that in the 8K filing that we're going to see. Either way, I would love management to comment on something like this. And in other cases, generally what you would see is you would see an announcement of somebody new starting and somebody leaving at the same time in the same announcement. So XYZ is replacing Derek White as the CEO of Galileo. But for the fact that they just updated the website and they haven't really said anything, to me at least, that signals that this was something unexpected, which is what leads me to believe that there might have been some type of internal thing that went on because the performance stock units are right around the corner. And yes, I mean, sure, you could see the silver lining that those shares won't be given out at the end of the day to Derek White, but that's like not a really big deal in the grand scheme of things because you want good people in your leadership position. So I'd really want the company to comment on this. And I don't know if they will or won't, because SoFi hasn't really dropped any press release for the past month or so. I think their last one was signing Josh Allen. So there's not been really any official news from the SoFi side. Even level one options, because it's a slow rollout to some accounts, doesn't have a actual press release or any marketing associated to it. So we're left scouring the web essentially whenever the website changes to make an announcement. But we will hear from SoFi very shortly because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, the last day of Q3 was September 30th. And as a result, SoFi just released earlier today that they will release their Q3 2025 earnings on Tuesday, October 28th at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, I will be covering that on this channel. So we're going to hear from SoFi management team around the company's earnings for Q3, what the member counts look like. And as always, I'll be doing an earnings prediction video. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days. I suspect management is going to be crafting something, whether through the SoFi IR page, whether through Noto himself, or just the SEC filing that's going to come out. We're going to have more details around the Derek White departure. Not great news to have because Derek White always struck me as a straight shooter, but I'm just somebody from the outside looking in, right? I don't have internal knowledge around how that person was inside the company or what those conversations were behind closed doors. So we don't really know what happened and go off of the information that we're given. So really, right now we're in a holding pattern, just waiting for SoFi management to comment. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, let me know and follow the channel for more. And I'll definitely make sure to keep you guys posted if this develops any further. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.